My name is Steenz. It's spelled Steenz. I don't know if you guys need that. Anytime I do interviews, they say it and spell it too. So yeah, just in case, I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a cartoonist and an educator and an editor. So I do the syndicated comic strip Heart of the City. It's in over 100 newspapers nationwide. And then I also teach at Webster University. I teach cartooning, but I also run Slice, which I feel like is kind of under the education umbrella of the things that I do. It is the St. Louis Independent Comics Expo, and it is an event that happens at the end of the year where we have a bunch of different artists of all types of paper artists, so cartoonists, writers, poets, anything you can do on paper, you count. And throughout the year leading up to the event, we also put on programming, arts-focused programming for the community, primarily so that it's free and accessible. There's a lot of arts education that you can do, but it almost always requires a cost. And I'm really happy that I'm able to utilize Slice to provide free programming like this. Mutual aid, I feel like, is a part of everything that you do, whether it's creative or for your family or for yourself. I think that's always a little bit somehow connected to mutual aid. I think storytelling is really important just because there's so many different kinds of stories out there. And if you don't know, you don't know, you know? And so I encourage people to tell stories about themselves, whether they're silly stories or stories about their own journeys, some of the struggles perhaps that they're going through. Anything is valuable because you learn something about someone when they tell you a story, regardless of what the story is. So I try and push that on people when I talk to them about making comics. You know, so many people, when they think about making comics, they think of this magnum opus that they have to create, this multi-book, 100-page tome, and that's not really necessary for you to make comics. You know, a comic can be as simple as a photograph with image and text, you know? So anyone can do it. And I like to tell people that it is accessible and available for you to get your story out there in this creative way. You never know, like, what kind of people are out there unless you hear about their stories, you know? Mutual aid to me feels like learning about others and helping throughout their lives as well. And if you don't know about them or their lives, you know, how can you really provide too much aid, you know? So that's why I think storytelling and comics is a really great way to open that door. Because once you know a little bit about somebody, it can be a lot easier for you to help each other out in some way. A moment where I saw storytelling and mutual aid coming together so I create this program called Comics University. It's a free program. I love free programs. It's a free program where you can learn about comics. It could be the history of comics. It could be people who make comics, different ways to make comics. And I believe it was my fourth or fifth year. It was my fifth year doing the program. And I was telling myself, you know what? I should probably teach one class. I have been doing volunteer stuff and organizing and letting everyone else do the teaching, but I was like, you know what? I'll teach one class. It's the fifth year I'm doing it. Now's the time. So I did a class on Black comic creators. And of course, I was like super nervous because it was even though I do public speaking and stuff all the time, I get nervous literally every single time I do it. It does not go away. So I'm super nervous and I'm like rushing through it because it's my first time. And by the end, I'm like, I did it. I'm like shaking, like I can't believe I actually did it. And I saw there was a student at the back of the class who was like, I didn't know this was going on. I just happened to be walking in the library and I see that this program was happening. And I go in and I see you, a Black person, talking about comics. And it made it clear to me that I should be making comics. And I was like, great. What can I help you with? You know, where do we start? And so, you know, taking that chance of telling the story of like the history of Black comic creators was worthwhile because even though it was a very scary moment for me because it was my first time really doing any sort of teaching, it was worthwhile because someone got some value out of it and someone got a real idea that this is what they should be doing. And it felt great to me because that's what I had when I started doing comics. You know, I didn't know what I wanted to do in the arts industry. I just knew I liked art, which is what a lot of, happens to a lot of artists out there. It's like, I like art, but I don't know what I want to do with it. And so when I started working for the comic book store and I started seeing the actual creators of these comics, that's when I saw Brittany Williams doing a comic. It was like a Samurai Jack comic. And I was like, I know that name. I know who Brittany Williams is. I've been following them on Tumblr for like years. And I found out that they're also a Black person making comics. And that's when I realized I should be making comics. I'm literally working in a comic book store. I literally know how to draw. How come it didn't come to me until, I saw that? So that's why I always say, like, seeing is believing, because you never really know exactly what you want to do with your life until you see someone doing something that possibly you could do, It's really all about access for me. When I was younger, I was not really given a great direction as to where to go with my career. You go to high school, you do what they tell you to do. You go to college, you do what they tell you to do. And so by the time you're out of college, you're like, why is no one telling me what to do? So I really like being able to offer the community options for what they can do. If I had known all the kinds of things you can do with an art degree when I was actually in school, I feel like I may have taken a different direction with how I handled college, So that's why I always say yes to going and doing college visits or any sort of class visits or any sort of interviews like this, because I want people to know you can do more with your connection to art, and that you can have a career doing it. You just kind of have to get creative, I think the future of many industries could really benefit from just the idea of mutual aid, mostly because of connections and community. For example, in the comics community, sometimes when you're trying to figure out what kind of comic you want to do, you are looking to your peers, what kind of story do you want to tell? Maybe I can help you with it, or I have an idea for a story, and you put it out into the world and someone nearby says, hey, I love that idea. I can help you with that too. And without that community, you can't really grow, comics especially is very much a team sport. Not every comic is just done by one person. Plenty of comics are done by, there's a writer, then an artist, then a letterer, then a colorist, and an editor, then there's all these different parts that go into creating one baby of a comic. And so just the idea of being able to rely on each other is already kind of inside the idea of the comics industry anyway. So I would like for more people to spread that and do more of that, I think it's a really great way for people to find others who not just can help them, but they can help as well. I see the comics industry and a lot of industries as a community rather than a competition. We can help each other out in a lot of different ways. I'm trying to think of like an example of that working. And honestly, I think Slice is a really good example of that working. We have a board of 7 members, and we are all in completely different arenas, so I teach and make comics, and then we have someone who is a graphic designer, we have someone who is really great with our budget. So it's like everyone has their skill set, and we're all utilizing those skills together to create something like Slice, which is helpful for the entire St. Louis community, because we're creating these free programs for people, and more people get to then join those programs, and they get to see what options they have. They get to learn something about themselves even, So I think we can utilize that idea of gathering resources and working together on more than just nonprofits and more than just, workshops and programming. It could be small. So there's a group of people that I just met recently, and they all gather in the mornings and they all take their hormone shots together. And I'm just like, oh, it's so sweet. And it's like, even something as simple as like giving yourself a shot, doing that with maybe 5 other people makes it a little less scary, right? So it's like, if we can get this idea of let's all get together and do it together, I feel like a lot more can get done. There's that saying where it's like, if you're scared of doing something, just do it scared, you know? So I think if you want something to happen, do it together. Find someone to help you with it. You don't have to go it alone. I think the American lifestyle is very much an individualist lifestyle. You know, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, take your own life into your hands, and you don't have to, you know, there's a lot of us around. There's a lot of people in our community, and I think a lot of people are looking for that community as well. So you don't have to go it alone if you don't want to. I think programs for the general public should be free. I know that money makes the world go round, and I know that money also helps a lot when it comes to programming. But I do think that if you have your priorities in order, you can make it work. So, for example, we have an upcoming program with the Artists Guild, June 15th. And typically those are, you pay $10 and you get to go to the program. And I know $10 is not a lot of money, but $10 is more than $0, you know? And so what we're doing is we're saying, if you use the Slice code, you get it in for free, and then we'll foot the bill. And that's like, you know, a little over $100 for, you know, 15 people. And where can we get that money? I mean, the money comes from board dues. That money comes from the general public donating. You know, people buy stuff from Slice, and we use that money for these programs. So it's like any money that comes in just goes to making more programming. And I feel like it's super doable, you know? And it also makes it easier for people to want to do it. There's a lot of people who can't afford a $10 class because they have to spend 15 on an Uber to even get there, you know? And I don't know everyone's situation, but I know when I was growing up, that sort of thing was always the thing that kept me from doing programs, was how expensive it was. And so I just feel like as you grow as a person, you should try and make things easier for the next people coming. You know, what do they say? One hand in front of you, one hand behind you, pulling someone with you. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. It's like, I know it was really hard for me, so I want to make sure everyone else doesn't have to go through the problem that I had to go through. And obviously there are plenty of programs that you can pay for and, you know, still benefit from, but there should be options. That's really all there is to it. You know, if there's a high cost option, there should be a no cost option for all kinds of programming. It's all about doing the things you want to see in the world. You know, if you want to see more free programming, start by making some free programming of your own, you know. Well, Slice, the applications are open currently. So they're going to be open until July 1st. And we're looking for all sorts of paper arts. If you are a writer or an artist or a poet or a printmaker, this is the place for you. And we also are making sure to keep it low cost for people. So half a table is only $35. A full table is $70. I don't know if you know about other markets, but some are a little more expensive than that. So it's a single day market, but we expect, you know, over 1,000 people to show up. That's enough to really make it worth your time. Also, it's just fun. You know, Slice is great. Our mascot, Mr. Slice, is a patron of the arts. Mr. Slice uses they, them pronouns as well. And, you know, you'll see them around St. Louis for sure. So yes, definitely apply to Slice till July 1st. Or you can just attend Slice. It's free to attend. It'll be October 26th at the Sheldon. We're also having an opening night party before at the Pulitzer. So it's going to be in that row of, you know, art museums. Feels right for the kind of program it is. We're also going to be at the Schlafly Markets in August and September. So if you want to hear more about Slice and what we do, you can come see us at those markets. Also, sign up for Comics University. Comics U is my baby of a program. I have loved Comics U since 2013 when it was born, and I'm really excited that Slice has taken on Comics U. I didn't ask them to, but everyone's like, we might as well. It's just more programming. So, yes, Comics U starts in June. It's going to be at Betty's Books in Webster Groves. Love to get more people into a comic book store, and Betty's is a really, really great one for that. So follow us on Instagram as well. We have a ton of free programming coming up in the next few months. To incorporate mutual aid into your daily life, I recommend starting small. Look for those helpers. Look for people who are also interested in doing this. There's plenty of people who want to make the community better in all areas, whether it's art or not. So find those people and make an itty bitty little group and do one project at a time. I also think it's good to write down all of your ideas. I know it's a very simple thing, but I find that if you write something down, you're kind of like putting it into the universe as something that is going to happen. It just may not happen this very second. So baby steps and start small.